if I understand the numbers that I'm seeing correctly. Some of that is made up by the fact that they own. It's capitalism, and one of the good things about capitalism is you again, checkology.org, which would be a particular.
C-SPAN, where history unfolds daily. In 1979, C-SPAN was created as a public service by America's cable television companies. And today, we continue to bring you unfiltered coverage of Congress, the White House, the Supreme Court, and public policy events in Washington, D.C. and around the country. C-SPAN is brought to you by your cable or satellite provider. President Trump has announced he'll make a major announcement from the White House concerning the humanitarian crisis on the southern border and the shutdown tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have live coverage on C-SPAN. And the Senate is in session tomorrow after Virginia Senator Tim Kaine's objection to adjourning for the weekend. Watch live coverage of the Senate beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern Saturday, with comments expected on the government shutdown on C-SPAN 2. The House is out for the weekend, returning on Tuesday for legislative business, live at noon on C-SPAN. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders took a few minutes to answer questions from reporters outside the White House on a range of issues.
Hey, Sarah.
Good to see you, Sarah.
You guys gathered for the big snowball fight or Sarah, did the president direct Michael Cohen to lie to Congress?
Look, that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that the president's outside counsel addressed this best and said in a statement earlier today that's categorically false.
What about the polls? Did he direct him to rig any polls?
Look, I think that one statement, those two words, sum it up better than anything anybody else can say, and that it's categorically false. We'll keep you posted. Look, as the president has done every single day since he's gotten into office, he's going to continue to communicate directly with the American people, whether it's speeches across the country, through social media, through taking questions from you guys, and we'll continue to do that, whether it's on Capitol Hill or elsewhere.
North Korea, why should the president believe anything that comes out of an hour, the representative of North Korea, considering after the last summit, the denuclearization that was promised did not and has not happened?
Look, we've continued to make progress. We're continuing to have conversations. The United States is going to continue to keep pressure and sanctions on North Korea until we see fully and verified denuclearization. We've had very good steps in good faith from the North Koreans in releasing the hostages and other moves, and so we're going to continue those conversations, and the president looks forward to his next meeting. Sorry, Steve, go ahead. Steve, go ahead. Again, they had, as I put out earlier, just a little bit ago, the president had about an hour-and-a-half long meeting. There was a U.S. delegation, which will send out those specific names here shortly. I can tell you Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in the room, as well as several others from the president's team. It was productive, and they're going to continue those conversations, and the president looks forward to his meeting.
Is the president talking to world leaders during this time, including Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi?
The president is in president's in regular contact with a number of world leaders. As he has those discussions, we'll be sure we put those readouts out.
There's some concern among Democrats that there's some concern among Democrats that if the shutdown isn't wrapped up by the Super Bowl, that there could be some security concerns with the Super Bowl. Does the president hold those concerns as well?
I think if the Democrats have those type of concerns, then they should sit down at the table and negotiate with the president. We've got an offer on the table. We've made it clear that we'd like to make a deal. We want to get something done. The president wants to open the government as well, but he also wants to make sure that we're protecting American citizens, and we have to secure our border in order to do that.
Is there any urgency, considering that government officials workers could miss a second paycheck a week from today?
Absolutely. That's one of the key reasons that the president did not want Speaker Pelosi to leave the country, is because if she did, it would all but guarantee the fact that the negotiations couldn't take place over the weekend, and federal workers, 800,000 federal workers, wouldn't receive their paychecks because she wasn't here to help make a deal.
Sarah, what about Sarah? He might compromise on the budget and sign a CR originally, and then of course we heard from Ann Coulter and from Rush Limbaugh. Why is he not willing to go back to where he was in the beginning, or is he?
The president's laid out what he wants. We sent a detailed letter from the Office of Management and Budget to Congress, and we've had a number of discussions discussing what we're looking for. We haven't backed down from that. We haven't changed our position on it at all.
Will the president still be delivering a speech on January the 29th as he planned to?
We'll certainly keep you posted on that front.
Sarah, what about allegations from the United
Did the White House, Sarah, did the White House leak that info?
The allegation of the leak of the commercial flight to Afghanistan?
Absolutely. That's frankly, it's unbecoming of the speaker to make that type of accusation. It is outrageous that she would accuse the president of the United States of putting any life in jeopardy. In fact, the reason he didn't want her to go is because he's trying to protect American citizens. He wants to secure our border, and he wants a solution. He wants her to stay here to help him fix it.
Why did the letter saying she was going, though?
The director of the White House National Economic Council spoke to reporters about the economy and the government shutdown. Larry Kudlow's comments are about 20 minutes.
It's on you, brother.
Gotta take the hat off.
No, it's a good hat. We like the hat.
I love the hat.
Good hat.
Not everybody wants me to wear the hat. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's a great pleasure.
Larry, does the president support a $1 trillion infrastructure plan?
Look, infrastructure is important. We're working through a lot of options, a lot of good options. And give me a couple more weeks to do it.
Is one of those options a $1 trillion infrastructure plan?
I don't want to do numbers and stuff because we're working through. There's really a handful of important options. And importantly here, not only do we want our priorities, I mean, remember, Eamon, we're talking, highways, bridges and so forth, more traditional. We're also talking major improvement in our energy infrastructure. We are the global dominant energy power, and we want to increase that. So we're working with all the agencies to come up with something. We've met with the president, and there'll be more meetings. We'll come up with something.
Kudlow, do you think the shutdown's going to hurt the economy?
Hold on. I want to be even-handed, please. Yes?
From what you've seen of the economic data, how long can the U.S. economy withstand a government shutdown without those effects becoming more widespread and hurting growth?
Well, look at, you're going to get a temporary glitch in the numbers, okay? And that's out there, and I don't have any particular disagreement. I think the modeling on this is very difficult and highly imprecise. How long? I don't want to speculate on that. Can I give you, look, right now, let's just do the here and the now. This morning we had a number from the heart of the U.S. economy on industrial production and manufacturing, okay? It's what we do, and it's what Trump policies have tried to improve, and it is working. It was a spectacular number, okay? It was manufacturing and production, and the production of business equipment, which is the CapEx, the business investment piece. This is the 7th straight month. The 4th quarter will be about almost 8% at an annual rate. We're soaring on this. We're going to beat 3% GDP in the 4th quarter when that comes out, okay? We have fabulous retail sales, selling season during the holidays, so that's all out there. It may be time lag on the numbers, but we are in very good shape. I just want to make that point. And you can see by the action in the stock market, people are looking through the temporary shutdown. They're just looking through it. And that's all that matters today.
But Mr. Kudlow, do you think there'll be any permanent?
Getting paid, who are working. I mean, I assume that this administration wants people to work and be paid for their work. So how long, how many more weeks, 28 days now, how many more weeks can the economy?
Hardship's bad. Make that point, very bad. I've got young people on my staff. I know the stories I read in the papers, TSA and so forth. I get that. Hardship is a bad thing. Having said that, the President has tried his mightiest to make a compromise deal with Democrats to solve this. But the solution with respect to border security and the wall must include the principles that he is espousing. I mean, the security at the border is absolutely vital to the health, wealth, and economy of this country. That's my personal view. Sometimes you got to stand up for it. Now, I believe, because I'm the happy warrior, that finally calmer heads will prevail, and we will get through this, and we will be better off for it. That is my personal view. But the President is doing the absolute right thing. We must have order down there on the border. We must. You got the drug problem, you got criminal problem, you got gang problems, you got all kinds of problems. We've tried, I mean, immigration reform. This administration has pushed terrific plans on immigration reform. Sometimes we thought we had something cooking, then it went up in smoke. All I'm saying is you got to stand up for what you believe in. It's absolutely vital. Yes.
How can you say that when...
How concerned are you about the economic blowback from this shutdown that really has no end in sight at this point?
I will keep repeating how strong our economy is. I will keep repeating how strong our private economy is. And I will keep repeating, I know it's a little wonky, but, you know, cut me some slack. The production, take a look at the production. Do me a favor. Call me, take a look at the production number. We'll go through the thing, and you'll see how strong we are. And let me add something else. We're now roughly 2 years into the Trump administration. And excluding the first quarter, hang with me on this, excluding the first quarter of 2017, which was really President Obama's last quarter, if you will, we've had 7 Trump quarters, right? 3 in 2017, 4 in 2018. I'm penciling in 3% in the fourth quarter. Most people are. We will have shown growth for the first 2 years with our plan to roll back tax rates on individuals and companies and deregulate the economy and trade reform and USMCA reform and talks with China that are progressing. Anyway, bottom line is we're growing at better than 3% per year for the first 2 years of the administration, which, look, I can't predict the future. All I'm saying is a whole lot of people said that would not be possible, and it is possible. And let me add one other thing, because I'm very proud of this accomplishment, not only because I've been here almost a year, but I was involved in its inception several years ago. These are the best employment numbers, the lowest unemployment numbers, blue-collar workers. You know, that's why I think the energy thing is so important. Blue-collar, what I call hard hat, infrastructure, they're booming. They're booming. That's the best since the 80s when I was here last as a Reagan Cub Scout. And the wages of those folks are rising, not only faster than, I guess, 10 or so years, but they're rising faster than the wages of the white-collar workers. Their wages aren't higher, but they're rising faster. This is what we hoped would happen with our incentives for growth, and it's working. So, listen, this stuff going on now is temporary. We've been through this before. Our economy is very strong and very deep.
Can I follow up that?
Senator Scott is
if I may just follow up on what she's asking. Thank you.
I do my best.
Do you foresee any chance of a permanent blip on the economy because of the shutdown now, or if it continues any further? Or do you believe that you can avoid it? And if so, are we still talking about
I'm not going to, you know, I'm not here to negotiate, so that's very important.
I'm not asking you to negotiate.
I'm just saying, as matters stand now, we are in a very strong economy. And that I think, you know, look at, for President Trump, I work for him gladly and with honor. I'm just saying, please, look at the facts. Look at the figures. I'm not making this up. So if the numbers I'm quoting weren't there, I wouldn't quote them. If you know me, that's the way it is.
But that's today.
Things are in great shape. That's all we know. That's all we know. I'm not going to speculate on the length of the negotiations and this and that. It's not my job. The President's going to do a great job of that. I'm just saying.
But you're the economist.
The economists can only tell you we generated a set of new policies. Right. New. And after 2 years, they are working. They are working. That's all I know.
Will this interfere with your policy?
I see no reason why. I mean, the Economist magazine, this is a temporary thing. We all know it's going to be temporary. We know that. I mean, look, folks are going to get paid, thankfully. We signed the legislation. Folks are going to get paid. This will end. I'm not here to predict or negotiate. I'm just saying we'll get through this. The economy itself, both now and in the long-term outlook, is doing very well. This is the hottest economy in the world. Everyone's coming to the United States. Everyone's coming to the United States. That's one reason the Chinese all of a sudden look like they want to do some trade negotiations with us. You know, we're hot.
You worried about the deficit?
We're hot. We're going to deal with the deficit as we grow through that and hold back spending. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think any of the stories of the everyday Americans affected by the shutdown, struggling to pay their bills, are they resonating with the president?
Look, of course they are. He looks at everything. Nobody wants hardship. Nobody. It's the worst part of this story. I grant you that. Worst part of this story. So let's get this thing done. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal for border security and the wall and the reopening of the government. And let me build my energy infrastructure out. Let me even have more tax reform for more economic growth. Let me do a lot of great things for America. Okay? That's what the president's here to do. You know, so let's just get through that. Yes.
Would the president be open to a measure to at least pay the Coast Guard immediately?
I had no. You got to go and. That's not. I'm not out here to talk about those kinds of details.
What's the Chinese tariffs?
China, the latest
Chinese
on
tariffs?
China?
Yes, in the back,
Yeah,
please.
latest on China. Can you give us something? Oh.
Way back. Now I'll get to you. I'll come back to
Are
you.
you concerned that this stalemate, with little negotiations, bad feelings on both sides, what does that say as we go into the debt ceiling deadline? Are you worried that we're going to have another crisis in just a few months?
No. I'm, you know, gosh, down through the years, I've been through so many of these debt ceiling things. You might really think about reforming that whole debt ceiling business. I know that's a different topic right now. We have to do everything we can to maximize economic growth. And I want to add, all right, you'll say I'm editorializing, maybe I am, but the facts support me. The policies we've taken have boosted middle-income folk, manufacturing folk, farmers, you know, we are on the road to a very good North American, you know, the USMCA deal, going to help a lot of people. Financial services, digital services, a terrific deal that Ambassador Lighthizer put together. Nobody wants to talk about that. I do. That's pro-growth. Okay. Our tax and regulatory policies, our infrastructure is pro-growth. The data show it. Let's just try to keep this up. America's come back. We're on a roll right now. I just want to preserve that. That's all. Now, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes.
Just on China. Can you give us an update on China?
Well, I'll try. I don't know. I'm reading a lot of things in the papers that aren't true. What's your question, please?
Okay, so tell us what's true then.
It's got to be a question. I'm happy to respond to a question.
Going to roll back the tariffs?
Look, of course not. We're making progress in negotiating on the grandest scale between the two countries ever. Okay? We're covering everything. Technology, theft, IP, forced transfers, family jewels, cyber intervention, commodities, industrial supplies, financial services, ownership. Nothing like this has ever been undertaken. The president has led this. He's fought this. The unfairness, the lack of reciprocity. No other president has done this. He's used tariffs when appropriate. Now he's using negotiations when appropriate. This is good. Negotiations are good. What I want to say to you, though, is I'm reading some things in some online sources that are just not true, way ahead of the curve. We have to make a great deal for America. I mean, if you talk to the president about this, he'll tell you. He would like to make a deal. He's moving towards a deal. He's talking to President Xi. I was at that dinner in Argentina, but it has to be in America's interest across the board. Again, you know, farmers, industry, technology, ownership, the whole 9 yards, theft. It's taking time. It's going to take time. We are moving. Deputy Prime Minister, I'll just say their top economics advisor, Leo Hay, is coming here at the end of the month. Those talks will be at the high principals level. I and many others will participate, Mr. Lighthizer, Steve Mnuchin, and so forth, and that may be determinative. But that's in front of us. I don't want to predict anything. I'm reading stories online about stuff that's already done. It's just, it ain't true. I'd love to make a deal. I'm a free trader. It's got to be a great deal. It's got to be a great deal, and we're working on it. Give us some time. Guys writing, people writing stuff. I don't know where they're getting this stuff.
So your predecessor, Gary Cohn, said just recently that he's confused as to what the White House strategy is. And he said it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to furlough these thousands of federal employees. What's your reaction to that?
You know, Mr. Cohn is my predecessor. He's a great American. That's all I have to say. He has his own views, and I don't agree or disagree. With respect to what? We have been negotiating from day one.
The Democrats are clear that they're not going to move. So what is the White House going to do?
The White House is going to continue to make it clear. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm just stating our policy that we must fix the border. The border security, including a wall or whatever the construct of the wall is a principle we have to fight for to preserve the United States. To preserve the United States. Now, you must have read that in the paper someplace, that is our position. And the president is meeting after meeting after meeting. I'm sorry, there was someone, I want to be as fair. Yes, ma'am.
Is he willing to go under 5.7 billion?
I'm not here to negotiate at all. I mean, I won't engage in that. I'm just saying in response to this question, the Democrats want this. What do we want? What do we want? Of course you know what we want. We say it every day, daily, afternoonly, nightly. Even I'm saying it. I'm just the economist. Yes.
Larry, you've often spoken of the president's negotiating prowess, including just now on that TV network. If the president is such a skilled negotiator, then why does he need to hold 800,000 federal employees' jobs hostage and keep all of the parts of the government that are not related to Homeland Security shut down?
I'm not going to negotiate. No, I'm not here to negotiate. I'm not here to comment on his. Maybe he's a real smart guy. How about if I leave it at that?
Mr. Kudlow,
yes,
in
please.
addition to the employees impacted, the shutdown's having ripple effects, small businesses, farms. How long is it going to take to recover from the current slowdown?
I'm sorry. The recovery will be almost immediate.
How?
Let me a couple things. Let me step back on this. This is kind of fun.
But based in answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not fun. She's there. Here, move. You move over. I like to talk to you directly. That's the way I am. Look at America is predominantly a private sector economy. I just want to make that point. All right. Now you'll say, "Oh, Kudlow, here's free market stuff." Well, you're right. I actually believe that the last many decades. The government is part of that, and sometimes makes us better, sometimes doesn't. The items you're referring to, whatever they may be, are a small share of the economy, a very small share of the economy. The government sector, fortunately, is a small share of the economy. So I don't want to get in any trouble and get into details on this. I will simply say that when government business resumes, the switch will turn, and you won't even hardly know it happened, to be perfectly honest. Listen, I was through this many, many years ago, and I was here for President Reagan. I covered it as a broadcaster in other shutdowns. This is temporary stuff. Everybody knows it's temporary stuff, and we will resume very, very, very quickly.
Contractors who have lost business and other small businesses, ancillary impact.
They'll get it back fast. If they can prove their worth, they'll get it back fast.
Are you concerned about?
I want to make sure I'm picking up
confidence?
everybody. Hang on.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Larry, the March for Life took place today. People protesting abortion. What impact on the economy, if any, does abortion have?
I beg your pardon?
What impact on the economy does abortion have, if any? People were in town today protesting.
Well, look, I'm not going to. I am personally pro-life and have been for, I don't know, a long, long, long time and will be. Okay, I am pro-life. This is a pro-life administration. That's just my personal individual view.
So, Larry,
is there anything over here? I don't want to miss anybody because we're all out here freezing.
Can you just clarify about consumer confidence, sir?
Sorry?
Can you just clarify about consumer confidence? When you're talking about almost immediate effect after the shutdown of coming back, we all know the fickle part of the economy is consumer confidence as well.
Booming.
Are you afraid of?
It's booming. It lost some ground today because of the shutdown. Always does. always does, it'll boom right back. Look, you had, let's get back to economics.
Yes.
Or I hope I know a little bit. You had, oh, I know, sorry, I think.
I'll pretend I'm over there.
You had tremendous Christmas holiday sales. Now, we missed the number because the Commerce Department's temporarily closed. We didn't get the retail sales number. Friends of mine in the statistics business are working through the same store comparable sales, and it sure looks like a booming season, and it's going to add to GDP. It's one of the reasons I'm optimistic about 3% plus in the fourth quarter when that number is finally released. So I'm saying consumer confidence is going to be terrific.
It won't be hurt by the shutdown at all?
No, I think it'll soar, but it'll jump up 10, 15 points. That's what I really think will happen. Everyone's going to breathe a sigh of relief. If for no other reason, you know, we can go back to watching Netflix at night and not have to worry about all this stuff. I said college basketball games. I know I shouldn't have said that. I don't own Netflix stocks, by the way. Yes, please.
So you just mentioned that you believe the trade talk with China is going very well. We know the deadline is coming up in March. Do you believe that we are heading to the right direction and we will meet the deadline to reach a deal with China?
I don't want to talk about that here. We're focused. The reason I think the trade talks are going well is because they're going well. I'm not being clever here. I'm just saying I think the Kudlow dictum is always better to talk than not to talk. Maybe not always, but usually. And we're talking. And as I said earlier, we are covering. There's never been trade discussions with a scope anything close to this width and depth. So that's got to be good. I'm not going to predict the outcome. Some people are writing, as I said, stories that, you know, are not true. But that's good. And we will wait to see as when Vice Premier Liu He comes, end of the month, that will be very important. And he'll have his top folks. And I know them, we know them, we respect them, and our top folks, and we'll see what happens. I'm not here to predict outcomes. We have to wait and see. That's all.
March 1st is still the deadline for those talks. That's correct. And you would still say that if a deal has not been reached, that the president will put those new scheduled tariffs that were halted before on China.
The president has said that. The president has said that.
That's right. And I'm asking
and
you
I
to confirm that's still the case.
That is completely up to him. So the answer is yes. March 1st is the deadline. And as I always say to this, line of inquiry, we're focused right now. I'm not focused on March 1st. I'm focused right now and the run up to the very important meetings we'll have with Vice Premier Liu He.
Hey Larry, can I throw you one? I know you talk a lot about
Hi,
trade and your discussions with the negotiating teams, et cetera, but let me ask you to pull back a little. There's been a lot of other news out there about your boss. Are you worried that he might be in some serious legal jeopardy? Does that cross your mind?
I'm not worried about him. It's not my area. It's not my lane.
He's your boss.
He is my boss indeed, and I am grateful to have this position, and I serve loyally, and I'm very proud of what we've done on the economy, and that's my lane. That's all I can tell you.
Larry,
Actually, I'm sorry, you missed the economic part.
I was in the back.
I gave a brilliant dissertation on the health of our economy.
Larry, I got here late. You got to start over.
I can't start over. I can't start over.
It's prestige. You can start over.
One last one before we all go home or whatever we're going to do. Yeah. Did I get you? Somebody that I haven't called on, I want to be as fair as possible. Can't see.
We appreciate you doing it, but anytime you want to do it in the briefing room, it's a little warmer.
Talked about bringing the debt ceiling issue into the current talks and just do one big deal and get it all done.
You could. I wouldn't want to prejudge that. You could. Sure. You could. There's no reason why I'm not here to negotiate, so I don't want to say yes, no, maybe, or anything. You could. You could do a lot of things. I'll just say this. We're growing faster than 3%. They said it couldn't be done. We've done it. I'm very proud and I'm very grateful. Thank you for coming out into the cold.
Hey, anytime you want to join us in the briefing room.
I did. I'm going inside.
Jamie Dimon is the chair and CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. He talks about the U.S. economy, the impact of the government shutdown, and trade policy at the Economic Club of New York. This is 35 Minutes.
It's really a special pleasure for me to welcome our guest speaker today, who's probably one of the most important figures in the world of banking and financial markets, and also a club member, Jamie Dimon, the chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, which is one of the world's most powerful companies, a global financial services firm with assets of $2.5 trillion. Jamie's a native of New York City. He graduated summa cum laude from Tufts and was a Baker Scholar at Harvard Business School, where he obtained his MBA. He began his career at American Express. He later became president and CEO of Travelers. He moved on to help build Citigroup, where he was named president, and later moved on to become chairman and CEO of Bank One. And following the merger with JP Morgan, he became president and chief operating officer of the merged entity. He became CEO of JP Morgan Chase in 2006, and a year later, in 2007, added the title of chairman to his official title. He is the chairman of the Business Roundtable. He's also on the executive committee of the Business Council and the Partnership for New York City. And in addition to the Economic Club, he's a member of the Financial Services Forum, the Financial Services Roundtable, and the Council on Foreign Relations. Jamie, both through JP Morgan Chase and his own private family foundation, is very engaged in a multitude of philanthropic activities, most of them focusing on the underprivileged, the needy, the transfer work to workforce development and job development. He's agreed to join me in a conversation where he said that no topics are off limits, so that should be interesting. And in addition to questions that I've prepared, I will also be drawing on questions that have been submitted by our members through our online club website. So I should point out that this meeting is on the record. There are many journalists in the room. And if you please welcome me in joining Jamie Dimon, we will begin our conversation. So Jamie, thank you for doing this. The week is we're only midweek, and you've already had quite a week. Mm-hmm. You announced your earnings yesterday. And of course, you announced a profit rise of 67%, and in spite of cost increases and trading volume decline. And you announced a return on equity of 12% versus 4% last year. But nevertheless, you didn't meet the street's expectations for the first time in, 15 or 16 quarters. I wonder if you'd comment.
So I'm thrilled. So thank you very much for the introduction. I'm thrilled to be here, and I will answer any questions as honestly as I can. First of all, the Wall Street estimates are what 20 people think are estimates. They're smart people. They're not smart people. I call them the smart, dumb average. I really don't care what their estimates are. They don't update them. They're not sure. People go on vacation last part of December. So, I look at and then of course there's too much focus in the short term. I mean, I look at, what's important to me? Market share, number of clients, products and services, new branches, not NIM, and whether expenses are a little higher or lower that quarter. And we can't forecast trading any more than anyone else in this room can. So I tell you, let's just stop asking. It'll be what it is. It's episodic. It's volatile. I have a great trading business. I'm proud.
But it was interesting that you took a larger loan loss provision.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what message you're sending to the market. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's because when the loan book grows, we put up loan loss reserves. So it was really because of growth, and mostly relating to consumer stuff. But if you look at actual credit, actual losses in middle market, large loans, small business, mortgage, auto, credit card, it is very good. If you look at it historically, it's in really the best 10% it's ever been. And therefore, it has to get worse. And part of that's because, we've been through all these tough times. And so over time, eventually, it will normalize. We actually show our shareholders what normal would be. And normal is quite a bit higher than it is today. So it's really good. Consumers in very good shape. Their balance sheets in very good shape. More people coming back to the workforce. Wages are going up. Consumer confidence, was down here, and it's off the high, but it's still at quite a high number. Business confidence is still at quite a high number. Small business confidence is still at quite a high number. So the actual underlying stuff is much better than the noise you read about when you read the paper every day.
So what does worry you? Is it fintech? Is it competition? Is it geopolitics? What is it?
Well, look, we analyze things. We do business in over 100 countries around the world, so we have to be very, very careful. And it's not. I tell people, it's not you take risk, you mitigate risk while serving a client. So we have to serve clients and then make sure we manage the risk. So the job is always to serve those clients. We do it around the world, and geopolitical risk is always there. It may be a little heightened today because of Iran, North Korea, multiple wars in the Middle East, et cetera, Brexit, trade policy, China. So those, obviously you should worry about those things, but we don't actually make a lot of businesses around that. The thing, and obviously, I know you had the Fed governors here and coming here soon, and Fed policy obviously has a little bit of consternation out there. But what I worry about most today is bad policy. Just bad policy, that we don't get things done that this country desperately needs, like immigration reform. I think we need to get a good trade deal. I think there are legitimate complaints about China. And, we got Japan and Europe are kind of with us in that we should fix it. I think China wants to fix it. So I'm a little hopeful we get that kind of done. We got to get kids back to jobs. We got to get, we have the community college. Jennifer Robb is here, but, we have in these community colleges, I think there's 500,000 kids who go to CUNY. Between the community school and 16 or 20% graduate. Okay, I look at that and say, we have these huge institutions that aren't doing enough for the outcome, which is kids with good paying jobs. And it can all be fixed. So I worry mostly about our own public policy. And the government shutdown, I put in the same category. It's kind of another self-inflicted wound. I'm not blaming Democrats or Republicans. It just isn't the way to run a railroad.
So what would be your recommendation? Just get back to work, or
look, we travel.
The shutdown's an immediate problem.
Yeah, when you look around the world and you look at governments and businesses that are successful, they usually collaborate. They understand that you need business. Business generates jobs and capital investments and productivity. Business should be civic-minded and community-minded, but it's not going to work if you fight all the time. It's true for Democrats and Republicans. When the democracy was formed, that meant you compromise. That's what a democracy is. You can't have a democracy where you refuse to compromise. That's where you go someplace and you sort out your differences and you figure out where you're going to build the railroad tracks, where you're going to build the school, and how you're going to take care of your citizens. So, at one point, we've got to get back to regular government.
You mentioned yesterday, I think, that if the shutdown were to last much longer, it could portend zero growth for the first quarter. How much longer does the shutdown have to continue for growth to really suffer?
What I was referring to was an economist who said if it lasts for the whole quarter, it could reverse the growth of the quarter, which might have been 2 to 2.5. It could be zero. And I don't know that. It's really hard to figure out what the shutdown does to the economy. And also, there'll be a little bit of a bounce back after that. So that's just the effect in the quarter. Remember, a lot of these people not being paid are going to be paid. They're just going to be paid kind of late and painfully. And but it is a negative. Sentiment does matter in business, and so the more we create negative sentiment, the worse it is. And I hope there's a deal to be done. Give the president money for border security. I don't care whether you call it a wall or a fence or whatever, and then do something in DACA or merit-based immigration, which we need anyway, and almost every citizen is for.
So let's go back to JP Morgan, and speaking of being in touch with your customers and so on, you do a bus tour, and you really do keep your ear to the ground. And what is it that you're hearing? I mean, you talk about the confident business sentiment and so on, but there are issues that are out there.
Yeah, so mostly, these bus trips are great. Like, these are just road trips. And we do it in jeans and polo shirts. We go to operating centers and call centers. We have lunches like this in Cincinnati. We do lunches for small businesses and for our own people. And on the bus in between, some of the stops, we have tellers and branch managers. We give them beer and immunity. Tell us whatever you want. And it's the only way you learn, both from customers and your employees, what you can do better. That's the point. To be self-critical and to have a little fun at it. But if you go city by city, a lot of these cities are doing much better. And it's like even Detroit, we put a tremendous amount of effort in, is doing much better because it has a wonderful mayor. The big lesson, when the mayor doesn't want to do anything other than be mayor, and he's working with civic society, think of schools and hospitals and not-for-profits, working with business, they can turn a city. And you've seen that in Idaho, you've seen it in Cincinnati, you've seen it all around the country, and that's what we should be focusing on. The mayor of Detroit, when he talks about, when he got elected, was a white man, was a write-in vote, and a white man in his town that was 75% black. He didn't talk about Democrats, Republicans. He talked about, I got to turn the streetlights on. We need more security. The ambulances have to show up faster. My schools have to do a better job getting kids jobs. I need more jobs. I need affordable housing. I need some infrastructure between Wayne State University. And when we heard all that, we were all in with him. That's what we think government should be doing. How do you solve the issues to make these cities better for everybody? And you learn a lot. But if you travel in America, confidence is quite high. Remember, I remind people there are 160 million people who work. There are 325 million Americans. Only so many watch CNBC, CNN, read the Wall Street Journal, look at FT. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just not their main concern. They're not focused on all of that. They focus on their wages and their jobs and their confidence and are their kids being taken care of, and those things are actually okay.
And what about small business lending?
But you said the problems. We had an uncompetitive tax system for 20 years, which damaged our country. So this whole thing about tax for business side wasn't about what it's going to do this month or this quarter or next year. It's about a permanent benefit, which is cumulative over time as capital gets retained and reinvested in the United States. We've already mentioned immigration, trade, tax regulation. Small business formation is lower than it's ever been in the United States in recovery. This recovery is 10 years long, a little over 20%. It's the most anemic recovery from a major recession we've ever had. It should have been 40%. Okay, we're graduating kids who, 70% of the kids between 17 and 24 are not eligible for military service because of obesity or they can't read or write. Okay, we're relegating generations of kids in inner city schools to poverty because we're not educating them properly and giving them training to get a job when they get out. And there are fixes. I don't know if any of you have been to Aviation High School, in Long Island City, or Alfred E. Smith School. That's a high school. They teach regular high school stuff. The Alfred E. Smith School teaches the kids how to maintain cars. They leave $45,000 a year jobs. And if we don't do a better job, we're going to have ongoing political disputes, slower growth, more anemic. So we have to do all those things, and most of those things are our own policies. They're not the weather. It's not anything that we can't control. It's stuff that's in our control. Oh, I should mention infrastructure. Okay, we put a man on the moon in 8 years. It takes 12 years at Bayonne Bridge, 12 years to get the permits to rebuild a broken bridge that would have killed people if we didn't rebuild it. 12 years. And you laugh. It's disgraceful. That's the country we all love. We just don't have this can-do attitude anymore.
But I want to get back to what you do and talk about small business lending and how you approach that, and why hasn't it grown more?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. So small business and kind of middle market lending has been less growth and recovery. I think part of the reason is the recovery's been anemic. So remember, some of that lending is for inventory, plant, equipment, and a 2% growth versus 3.5% growth. That's a big difference in how much they need as opposed to how much they earn from their own cash flow. I think taxes probably helped a little bit because I got to retain a little bit more, but the health of the small businesses that are there are fine. The formation is less.